Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabh Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabh Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gaurani Dai, Gaurani Dai, Gaurani Dai, Jaya Gaurani Dai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Shri Radha Kukulananda ki, Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gaura Nitai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. So starting off with some prayers to my spiritual master and everybody present here, and those watching to seek blessings that you may say something useful. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shra Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vidam Shra. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye vanchakapatarubhyascha kripa sindhubevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so thank you so much for coming today again for the Bhagavad Gita class. We're discussing chapter 7, verse 16, if you want to bring it up on your phone. It says Veda base. Huh? No internet connection. Okay, no worries. Okay, I hope you could follow along. So I'm just going to recite the verse line by line, and then you could try and repeat after me, and then and I'll do it a few times so you get the gist of the verse. So starting off, Chaturvija badante mam, Chaturvida bhajante mam, Chaturvida bhajante mam, Nanasu kirtino Arjuna, Nanasu kirtino Arjuna, Nanasu kirtino Arjuna, Artho jignasur artati, Artho jignasur artati, Artho jignasur artati, Nani cha bharata shabha, Nani cha bharata shabha, Gnani na cha bharata shabha. So now the word for word translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chaturvidha, please repeat. 4 kinds of bhajante, render services, mam, unto me, jana, persons, sukirtana, those who are pious, Arjuna, O Arjun, Artaha, the distressed, Jignasu, the inquisitive, Artha Arti, one who desires material gain, Nani, one who knows things as they are, Cha, also, Bharata Shabha, a great one among the descendants of Bharata. The translation, or best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me, the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Now the purport. Unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called Sukritina, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the absolute truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees, because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, chapter 1, verse 1:11, defines pure devotion thus: Anya bilasita sunyam nana karmadina vritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. When these 4 kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them, devotional service is very difficult, because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But in some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become, in their distress, devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, the search for mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. So at the beginning of chapter 6 of the Gita, Krishna is describing the knowledge of the absolute truth. And at the end of the 6th chapter, Krishna describes that the topmost of all yoga is, he says in chapter 6, verse 47, he says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten gaten nantaratmana shadavan bhajate yomam se same yukta tamamataha. He says, and of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So So this devotee has complete faith in Krishna, and he's serving the Lord also. So he's also doing service as well. He's always thinking of the Lord with transcendental love, 24 hours a day. So in the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna describes how to think of him. Because if we want to think of Krishna 24 hours a day, we have to know something about him, right? You have to have a lot of information to observe in our mind, to think of him all the time. And our mind has to become very attractive with the thoughts of Krishna. So in order to become absorbed in Krishna, we have to know a lot about him. And so therefore, Krishna himself is explaining this knowledge in the 7th chapter. In fact, he began the 7th chapter by saying, this is chapter 7, verse 1, he said, Shri Bhagwan Vacha Maya Ashakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjan Mad Ashrayaha Asamshayam Samagramam Yatagnashyasi Jaj Shrunu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So Krishna is explaining all this knowledge in this section of the Bhagavad Gita. He wants us to know about him, to think of him without any doubts about the benefit and how fortunate we are to be able to think of him. So Krishna is describing, in relation to his devotees, that certain kinds of people never surrender unto him. He described this in the previous verse that we read yesterday. He says, Namam dushkrit tino mudha prabhadyante naradhama mayaya partha gnana asuram bhavamashrita. So the translation of this is, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So the first type of person, Krishna says, is not qualified to come to me, is the Muda. What does Muda mean? Someone who's foolish, or donkey-like. You see, the donkey will carry a big load on his back and work hard day and night just to get some grass. Not knowing that, even without doing that, he'll get grass, So, and similarly, in mature life, we work very hard to get basic rotli shak, bhat, dal, we think that if we don't work, we won't get food. But that's not true. Krishna looks after the animal. He looks after everybody. He looks after the animals. He looks after the ants. So why wouldn't he look after us? So you don't need to work like crazy, So the donkey philosophy is working to enjoy. But when we try and enjoy, when a donkey tries to enjoy, another donkey will kick him on the face. And the donkey thinks that his braying, his singing is very nice. And he's wondering why people are, throwing stuff at him to stop, But he doesn't understand this, He thinks, I'm brilliant. I'm working hard for my family, just like we do. And he carries on. Not understanding the real goal of life, or in this case, it's a donkey. But so these people won't surrender to Krishna. The second type of person that Krishna says won't surrender unto him is Naradhama. So this is a person who is born in a good and pious family with knowledge. He knows what's right, But they still don't take advantage of this. So they think, my parents, they wasted time praying and going to the temple all the time. And how much money did they make? How much money did they really make, I'm not going to follow that. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make money. But not realizing that their parents probably got liberated and they're probably going to go to hell at the end of their life if they carry on with that mentality. So they don't see the need to practice Krishna consciousness, even though they have the knowledge. And that's not very good, because once you have, when you have the knowledge, you have the ability to do things that are right. But they choose to ignore this. And an example of this is Jagai and Madai. Has everybody heard of them? Yeah, so Jagai and Madai were actually born in a very pious Brahmana family. And they knew the scriptures. But they decided to live rebellious lives. And they broke all regulative principles, as you know. And like he said, when Nityananda and Haridas Thakur were trying to spread the Sankirtan movement, and they approached Jagai and Madai, and Jagai and Madai made fun of him, and they threw an earthen pot at him. And Lord Nityananda started to bleed profusely. So Haridas Thakur relayed that message to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What's happened? Jagai and Madai has hit, Nityananda has hit Nityananda Prabhu and he's bleeding. And upon hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got really angry. He came there, he was ready to take out his Sudarshan Chakra to kill Jagai and Madai. And then Nityananda Prabhu, he's begging him, don't kill Jagai and Madai. In this age of Kali, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our weapon is the Sankirtan movement, and it's not. We're not supposed to kill people, we're supposed to deliver people with the holy name, right? So, he said, please let them, please forgive them, And seeing this, Jagai and Madai's heart melted, and they thought, what are we doing, And they seek forgiveness from Nityananda Prabhu, and then they became devotees. So that's an example. So that's an example of a Naradama. But when that sort of person comes in contact with a pure devotee, as is described in this verse, they could become devotees themselves. So the third type of person that doesn't come to Krishna is those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. They think that they could understand the scriptures by their own intelligence. They will take some meaning and twist some meaning out of the scriptures without following the bona fide acharyas. And they will claim themselves as being an incarnation of God. So if anyone does that, they're not eligible to know Krishna. And sometimes they will even reject bona fide scriptures and try to write their own new scripture. They may say, the Bhagavad Gita is 5,000 years old, it's out of date, so now I'm going to write something more relevant, I'll write something better, and Krishna is empowering me to write it, So Krishna does not speak to any common man. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, chooses who he will inspire with transcendental knowledge. Not any man on the street. Krishna says he is never manifested to unintelligent and foolish people, but is covered by Maya. So the foolish mock Krishna, thinking he is some ordinary person, and they don't understand the transcendental nature of the Lord. The knowledge is stolen by illusion. So then Ashuram Bhavam Ashrita. There is also those atheistic people who do not believe in any God or say God is dead as he is very old. So they think him to be a normal person, And they don't understand the transcendental nature of the body of the Lord. They cannot understand that there is something beyond their intelligence. They cannot understand something beyond their intelligence. And so this is the description of some of the demons or asuras. And these people never surrender to Krishna. So Krishna has described 4 classes of people who don't come to him, but now he is describing 4 types of people who do come to him. They come to him, but they are not yet pure devotees. They are pious people. Through their sukriti or pious acts. So to come to Krishna, you have to have some qualification. And that qualification is sukriti. So, and this is not by chance actually. It's only if we've, in our previous life, we've somehow did some service and pleased a devotee, and even without knowing maybe, but we please the devotee. And through that, we somehow get the blessings of Krishna to take up to bhakti. An example of this is how Narad Muni tells Vyasadeva of his past life. So in his past life, Narad Muni was born a Shudra. His mother was an ordinary woman running a little traveler's home, and some sadhus came to stay at her house. When they were staying in their house, she asked her son to serve them, bring them food, and to take care of whatever they wanted. Maybe wash their clothes, bring them water, etc. So the sadhus were staying in the house. Sometimes the sadhus would leave some food on their plate, and you would ask them, "Please, would it be all right if I could take the remnants of your food?" And they said, "Yes, all right, you could take it." So with their permission, he took the remnants of their food, and just by doing this seva for these great sadhus and accepting the remnants of their food, he became so elevated that in his next life, he became the son of a Brahma, Narad Muni. He became the authority on the path of devotional service. One of the 12 Mahajans actually. So one of the 12 authorities in the line of devotion. So this is the power of serving devotees and associating with the sadhus. By serving the great devotees, this opens the door to liberation. And we should always grab the opportunity to do this. But the opposite is also true, that when we serve the senses and the objects of the senses and try to satisfy our mind in mundane ways, then it opens the path to hell. We fall into darkness or the path of ignorance. So today we're hearing about the 4 kinds of people have come to Krishna in the path of devotion. They're not pure devotees, like I said. They still have some material desires. But they have come, so they are good, pious people. So coming back to today's verse, Chaturvida bhajante mam gnana sukritino arjuna artho jignasur arthati gnani cha bharata shabha. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So Chaturvida, 4 kinds of people, bhajante mam. So Sri Krishna is not using the word surrender over here. He is using bhajante. So he's saying, by the process of worship, by rendering the devotional service, eventually they will come to surrender. But right now, they are doing bhajante. Now, what are the reasons Gnana Sukritino Arjuna. They are having some Sukriti. This Sukriti is contrast to the word Duskriti, which is used in the previous verse. So why are these people pious? A person in distress, why is he pious? If he comes to Krishna, it's because, when you're in distress, it's very easy to turn to other things like drugs, or you could turn to alcohol, you could turn to self-help books, and turn to the wrong source of help. But someone who is pious turns to Krishna, and Krishna says, I will protect my devotees. So an example of distress, a good example in the Shastra, is that of the elephant and crocodile story. So Gajendra Moksha, so how Gajendra gets delivered by Krishna. So I'll read the story. Once upon a time, many centuries ago, there used to live a big and stronger elephant named Gajendra. He was very tough, and his stories of wisdom and courage were known in far lands. He was the king of a very big elephant herd. He even had more than 1,000 elephant wives. Gajendra was very brave and proud of his position as king. One day, during the harsh summer season, Gajendra was migrating from hills to plains. While coming down the hill, he saw a pond filled with clean blue water. He was very happy to see the pond. He immediately ordered everyone to stop and rest for a while. While everyone was resting, Gajendra went near the pond and began drinking water. The water was very cool, and he jumped directly inside the pond and began to play. He was jumping in the pond, and a crocodile sleeping in the pond got awake. The crocodile was in anger as his sleep was disturbed. He instantly attacked Gajendra and grabbed his foot with his large jaws. Gajendra tried a lot to set free from the crocodile's jaw, but all went in vain. He tried and tried, but nothing happened. A few years passed away, and the elephant and the crocodile were still in the same position. All of Gajendra's friends, family, and wife left him in that situation and went away. Now he was all alone, trying to set free from the crocodile's jaw. Finally, he realized that nothing except God can save him from the crocodile. So many a times we think that, we've got our family, our friends. But in this situation of life and death, only Krishna could save us, So we have to turn to Krishna. Through this we learn that Gajendra learned that, even though he was the king of the jungle in the water and against the crocodile, because it wasn't his natural habitat, he was weak. So, and this is how it works, no one could help us, apart from Krishna really in life. So he immediately calmed himself down and began thinking and praying for the god Vishnu. Vishnu heard Gajendra's prayers and immediately went to the pond. He saw the elephant and the crocodile and pulled all of them out in one go. Both the animals landed on the ground, and the crocodile once again tried to attack Gajendra. Just then, Lord Vishnu took his Sudarshan Chakra and sliced the crocodile into two. It may seem very fictitious, but the crocodile began to change its shape and size, and soon it turned into a normal human. He turned into a famous musician called Hulu, who was cursed by a sage to turn into a crocodile. Just when he was saying this, Gajendra also changed into a human. Gajendra was a king called Indradyumna. He was cursed by an angry sage in his previous life. Since then, he had been living his life as an elephant. Finally, in the end, Lord Vishnu unknowingly helped two cursed people by relieving them from the curse they had been living with. Both the elephant and the crocodile were extremely happy and were taken to heaven with Vishnu. So, initially, Gajendra was relying on his own strength, and he was getting weaker and weaker. And then, because he was Indradyumna Maharaj in his previous life, and was quite religious, spiritual, he suddenly remembered the prayers, and he started meditating on Vishnu. And once he surrendered to Vishnu, he saved him. So like this, in any distressful situation, the best person to turn to is Krishna. So the second type of person who comes to Krishna is one who's in desire of wealth. Why is this person pious? Because at least they're not turning to other means of wealth like gambling or cheating methods or, but they're coming to Krishna. So, please help me save money for the house, but they're still coming to Krishna, or something like, or something silly like that, but, people do that. So a good example of this in the Shastra is Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj was a son of a king called Uttanapad, the king of the earth. And he was relaxing in the chambers with his wife Suruchi, his favorite of the two queens. And suddenly Suruchi's little son Uttama climbed onto the king's lap, and the king patted him with fatherly affection. Then just another young boy tried to climb onto the king's lap. He was Dhruva, the son of Suniti, the other queen. Although the king loved his sons equally, just to please Queen Suruchi, he refused to welcome Dhruva. Then with great pride and malice, Queen Suruchi rebuked Dhruva in the very presence of the king. She said, "My dear child, although surely you are also the king's son, because you are not born of my womb, you did not deserve to sit on the king's lap, nor on the royal throne. If you desire the throne, you must first satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, but undergoing severe austerities. Then, when he favors you, you shall still have to die and take birth in my womb before being crowned the emperor of the world." So just as a snake breathes heavily when hit by a snake, Dhruva, stricken by the strong words of his stepmother, was breathing heavily out of anger. When he saw that his father was silent and did not protest, Dhruva immediately left the palace and went to his real mother, Queen Suniti. When Dhruva reached his mother, his lips were trembling in anger, and he was crying grievously. Queen Suniti lifted her son onto her lap and listened attentively as the palace residents, who heard Suruchi's harsh words, related everything to her. Suniti quickly lost her composure and became like a leaf burning in the forest fire of grief. Lamenting and breathing heavily, Suniti addressed Dhruva, "My dear son, don't become vengeful, for if you inflict pain on others, you yourself will suffer from that pain. What Surichi said is true. Your father is ashamed of me. He doesn't consider me his wife or even his maidservant. It is a fact. You took birth in the womb of an unfortunate woman. Surichi told you to worship the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva. So if you want to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother Uttama, you must immediately execute Queen Surichi's instructions. Take shelter of Lord Vasudeva, who is very kind to his devotees, and worship him. Lord Vasudeva is so kind to his devotees that if you go to him, then the combined kindness of millions of mothers like me will be surpassed by his affectionate and tender dealings. When everything else fails, Vasudeva is able to help his devotee. I could see that only he can mitigate your distress. So considering his mother's instructions carefully, Dhruva immediately fixed his determination and left the palace to seek God. So why did he leave? He wanted a kingdom bigger than his father and even bigger than Brahma. So, he's been told that he's like, how dare, I can't get the affection of my father and sit on his lap, Just imagine a 5-year-old kid, And he goes to the forest all alone. And whilst he's wandering in the forest, he meets the sage Narad Muni, a pure devotee of the Lord. And Narad Muni is struck with wonder by Dhruva's fierce determination. So he said, first he tests Dhruva, and he says, "My dear boy, you are only a child attached to sports and other frivolities. Why are you so affected by the words insulting your honor? Don't be dissatisfied. The ways of Lord Krishna are very wonderful. Therefore, an intelligent person accepts his destiny and is satisfied with whatever comes, be it favorable or unfavorable. Besides, the process of yoga you have chosen to perform is very difficult, even for experienced mystics. It's better that you go home." And to this, Dhruva's like, "No, I'm not going to go anywhere. You're going to tell me how I'm going to get to Vasudeva or Krishna." And so Narad Muni instructed him, go to the forest called Bandirvan, the banks and near the river, and meditate on Vasudeva. Recite Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Dhruva did exactly that. He went to the forest, and I'm cutting it short because I've got lots to cover for about 5 minutes. But he went to the forest and he performed such austerities that even the demigods were scared. So that Dhruva, the whole earth started shaking, and the demigods were scared that Dhruva would take their position. So they go to Krishna for help, and then Vasudeva appears to Dhruva, and he touches his conch shell on Dhruva. And initially, Dhruva was wanting the kingdom, a big kingdom. But as soon as Vasudeva touched his conch shell on Dhruva, his desires changed. I mean, all he wanted was to see the Lord and to be engaged in devotional service. So he says, like, what I was desiring was like broken piece of glasses. Now I've seen crystal, like what diamond is. Now I could see what diamond is. And so when Vasudeva asked, you perform lots of austerities, what would you like? And he said, all I want is I could be engaged in your service, But he said, I know your desire. You also wanted the kingdom, and a kingdom greater than Brahma. So I'm pleased. I'll give you both, So Vasudeva said, Dhruva was ruling got to rule the pole star, the Dhruv planet. And he got devotion as well. So he got both. So when we turn to Krishna, even for wealth, he could he'll also fulfill that desire if we're sincere, right? So the third type of person that comes to Krishna is those who are in search for knowledge, right? So I just skip a lot, but so some people, so they want knowledge. They want to hear about Krishna. Who is Krishna? What is the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita? They want to know all about this and are interested to understand. Some people want to search the absolute truth. They are searching and trying to understand who is God, which is the highest truth, who is the supreme. Many people are in search of knowledge, so these people can become Krishna consciousness as well. So an example of this is the 4 Kumaras. They were the son of the Brahma, born from Lord Brahma. Brahma wanted to procreate, right? And so he instructed the 4 Kumaras, help me to fill the populace. And in response to this, the Kumara said, no, we don't want to do this, We just want to work for enlightenment. We are going to stay young, we are not going to grow old, and we won't get married. As they didn't want to get into all the problems that come in householder life. So Brahma was upset, but, that's what the 4 Kumaras wanted to do. So the Kumaras set off to try and find Vaikuntha. And they got to Vaikuntha, and the gatekeepers, Jay and Vijay, stopped them. And so the 4 Kumaras got angry, and they cursed them. And as you know, that Jay and Vijay were cursed to become demons in 3 lives. So there's the person who's in want of knowledge. That's a person who's in want of like a type of person who is in want of knowledge that comes to Krishna. So the 4 Kumaras took onto the path of devotion in search of knowledge. This is still a desire because they wanted knowledge, so it's not pure devotion. But this was still pious as they came to Krishna. So you could go to many places to get knowledge. There are so many books in the library that have nothing to do with God and Krishna, and that have so many other kinds of philosophies and speculations, and they have knowledge, but material knowledge. But pious people will come and want to know about the path of devotion and how to understand God. And the final and 4th person who comes to Krishna is the inquisitive person. So someone who wants to know and has questions to understand how everything works. These are questions like, we may ask, who is the deity? Who is the deity here? What God have you got in this temple? Who is he? What did he do? What books did you read? And by asking questions, this inquisitive person can also come to God because they gain knowledge, right? But the best out of these 4 is the one who is in search of knowledge, because the person in distress, they may come to Krishna, and after their problems are solved, they might go away. The person who's inquisitive may ask like 60 questions, but then they might say, now I know the answers to my question. Why do I need to take off to this now, right? But the person in search of wealth may get a good job and be like, okay, now my goal is satisfied. But the person in want of knowledge of the absolute truth will be fixed in Krishna consciousness. And through practicing devotional service sincerely, they will gradually, through the process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the heart will be cleansed, and they will gradually come to pure devotional service. And so I've overrun, so I'll finish there, and please do say for the Gaura Arti. And thank you for listening, and sorry for any mistakes I made. Hare Krishna.
Kiba Jayo Jayo Gora Chandere Arati Kosobha Gora Chandere Arati Kosobha Kiba Jayo Jayo Gora Chandere Arati ko sobha Janavi tatavane Jagaman lobha Janavi tatavane Jagaman lobha Dakhin nitai chan Vame gadadhara Dakhin nitai chan Vame gadadhara Nikate advaita shini Vasa chatradhara Asi jate gorachan Ratna Simbasane Bosi jate gorachan Ratna Simbasane Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane Narahari Adi Kori Samar Dhulaya Narahari Adi Kori Jaya Mukunda Basu Ghosadigaya